Hello students, today we are going to deal with first chapter in chemistry of 12th standard. The heading of the chapter is solid state. Chapter 1, lecture 1. We know that under normal conditions of temperature and pressure, matter tends to exist in three states, namely solid state, liquid state and gaseous state. Once again, matter tends to exist into three states, of course under normal conditions of temperature and pressure, and these three states of matter are solid state, liquid state and gaseous state. We are going to study solid state in this particular chapter. The introductory question in this chapter is this: what are the characteristics of solid state of matter? Not very important question from exam point of view, but everyone should know the answer. You have already studied in your early standard that solids have definite shape, definite volume. They are hard and heavy, and they have high melting and boiling point as compared to liquid or gaseous state. In addition to this, constituent particles within the solid are compactly arranged. The distance between them is very small, and hence the forces of attraction holding them are very strong. The particles are so compactly arranged that they do not find any room, they do not find enough room to rotate or to move from one place to another. The room is just enough for the constituent particles to vibrate to and fro about their mean position. In the other words, the constituent particles within the solid exhibit only vibrational motion. They lack rotational or translational motion. So these are the important characteristics of solid state of matter that make it to differ from liquid or gases. The first important discussion of the chapter is coming up. Solids can be broadly classified into two types, namely crystalline solids and amorphous solids. So if they ask the question, what are the different types of solids, then you can answer solids can be broadly classified into two types. They are crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Now let us understand what are crystalline solids and what are amorphous solids. To understand the idea of crystalline solids and amorphous solids, we will be making one thought experiment, a hypothetical experiment. Suppose you are moving casually with a casual speed. Imagine that, just imagine that you are getting reduced to the size of an atom, and at a very same instance you enter into a solid. You will take hundreds of years to come out of the solid. Isn't it very wonderful? Yes, indeed. Now, after you come out, making a long voyage, long journey through the solid, if someone asks you, my friend, what did you see inside? What did you observe inside? Now, if you say that throughout my journey I found constituent particles arranged in the form of regular rhythmic pattern over long range. Throughout my journey, I observed the constituent particles within this solid arranged in the form of beautiful pattern, a regular orderly arrangement. It means that you must have been traveling through a crystalline solid. But if you had said that you did not notice any regular pattern, any rhythmic pattern throughout the journey, every now and then the pattern was changing, and in some part of the journey you did not notice any pattern, then you can say that you were traveling through amorphous solids. So from this thought experiment, we can very well define crystalline solids and amorphous solids. What are crystalline solids? Crystalline solids are those solids in which constituent particles are arranged in a regular pattern over a long range. Amorphous solids are those solids in which constituent particles are not arranged in a regular pattern over long range. So this is how you can define crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Thus, crystalline solids are those solids in which constituent particles are arranged in a regular pattern over a long range. On the other hand, amorphous solids are those solids in which constituent particles are not arranged. Just use negation, are not arranged in a regular pattern over a long range. Usually, pure substances tend to exist in the form of crystalline solids. To be more precise, pure substances having small sized constituent particles usually tend to exist in the form of crystalline solids. On the other hand, impure substances have tendency to exist in nature in the form of amorphous solids. Let us take an example of argon. Argon is an example of crystalline solid. You will immediately ask the question, sir, argon is a gas. How can then you call it a crystalline solid? Please remember, argon is definitely a gas under ordinary condition. But if we cool it at very low temperature, then first it will become liquid and finally it will turn into solid. When argon solidifies, at that time constituent particles of argon, which are atoms, will make them to arrange in a regular pattern over long range. So argon is a crystalline solid. Now the question is, why does argon have apt to get solidified in the form of crystalline solid? Very important question. Once again, we'll be making a thought experiment. Constituent particles of argon are atoms. These are argon atoms. The atoms of argon exhibit van der Waals forces as interacting forces. Once again, there exist van der Waals forces among atoms of argon in a given sample. Now, these forces are roughly 10 raised to 25 to 10 raised to 30 times stronger than gravitational force. One more important thing, these forces are both attractive as well as repulsive. If the particles are very close, then these forces are repulsive, and when particles are far away, then surprisingly they become attractive. As for example, when we compress a spring, the particles inside, the components inside tend to repel each other, and when you stretch a spring, the particles within the spring will show attractive forces. Exactly in the same way, the atoms within the given sample of argon show both the type of forces, attractive as well as repulsive. Now let us move further in our thought experiment. Imagine a liquid argon is about to convert into a solid. Once again, imagine a liquid argon is about to turn into solid. In liquid argon, the atoms will not show any regular pattern of arrangement, because when argon is in the liquid state, the atoms exhibit all the different types of motion: rotational, translational and vibrational. So there are regions where atoms can be close to each other, and there will be region where the atoms will be away from each other. But one thing is certain, that when atoms are close, they will repel each other, and when they are farther, they will try to attract each other. And finally, when argon solidifies, at that time atoms will acquire equilibrium position like this, in which the attractive and repulsive forces are in a balanced state. And when this happens, automatically the atoms will arrange themselves in a regular rhythmic pattern. This process is called process of crystallization. So please remember, while the process of crystallization is going on, the atoms of argon will show both the type of forces, repulsive and attractive, and finally they will end up in such a way that the atoms will come into regular rhythmic pattern. Thus, the pure substances in which when constituent particles are small, tiny, then they exist in nature in the form of crystalline solids. Let us take an example of amorphous solid. Coal tar is an example of amorphous solid. Coal tar is obtained by pyrolysis of coal. It is a mixture of, coal tar is a mixture of thousands of substances. Now, the constituent particles of these substances, they vary in many ways, in the size, in the shape, orientation in the space, and even the van der Waals forces among them will not be of uniform strength. So, when coal tar solidifies, at that time the particles will not end up into regular rhythmic pattern like this, but they end up into irregular pattern. Thus, coal tar is an example of amorphous solids, because we do not find regular pattern over long range of constituent particles. Similarly, glass, butter, cheese, etc. are examples of amorphous solid. They are made up of variety of constituent particles. Thus, if a substance is pure and made up of tiny constituent particles, then it shows tendency to exist in the form of crystalline solids. Now, it is not necessary that all pure substances are crystalline solids. Please remember, natural rubber, plastic, starch, although they are pure, but they exist in nature in the form of amorphous solids. Can you tell me why? Because the constituent particles in them are giant, are polymers. They are extremely complex. The constituent particles, which are polymers, that means large molecules, they are complex in nature, complex shape, size, orientation, and of course the forces among them is also very complex. So when they turn into solid from a liquid, they will end up into irregular arrangement pattern because of complex forces among them. So please remember, polymers, whether they are natural or synthetic, they are usually amorphous solids. If they ask the difference between crystalline solids and amorphous solids, then in the first point you can write the definition. In the second point you can write crystalline solids are true solids, whereas amorphous solids are pseudo solids. More appropriately, they are also called supercooled liquids. The third point of difference is this: crystalline solids have sharp, definite melting point, and they melt abruptly, all of a sudden. The reason is very simple. Since constituent particles within a crystalline solid are arranged in a regular, orderly manner, therefore the forces holding them together tightly are uniform all over. Their strength is uniform all over. So when we heat a crystalline solid, the forces holding the constituent particles, if rupture here at say 120 degrees Celsius, then at the same temperature it will rupture here because they have uniform strength. So the forces break at the same temperature all over, and abruptly, all of a sudden, crystalline solid turns into liquid and melt. Thus, crystalline solids have definite sharp melting point and they melt abruptly. On the other hand, in amorphous solids, there is no uniform pattern. At some places, particles are very far away. The region in which they are away will melt earlier, and the region where particles are compact, that particular region will melt later at a higher temperature. Thus, Amorphous solids do not have sharp melting point and they melt slowly over long range of temperature. Suppose an amorphous solid starts melting at 105 degrees Celsius. Then it will keep on melting, and finally it may so happen that the melting process ends at say 125 degrees Celsius. So melting process occurs in a long range of temperature, slowly and over long range of temperature. One more point of difference we will study in the next lecture. Crystalline solids are usually anisotropic, whereas amorphous solids are isotropic. Once again, crystalline solids are usually anisotropic and amorphous solids are isotropic. This point we will study in our next lecture. So, at least remember 4 points of difference between crystalline solids and amorphous solids. First point, definition. Second point, true solids, pseudo solids. Third point, regarding melting point and the way they melt. And the fourth point, anisotropic and isotropic.